Good morning, everyone. It's Amanda Golightly from Aligned Natural Health. And today I wanted to kind of jump into a bit of a story. We had a full moon this past week, and it kind of correlated with the meeting last night at Toastmasters. That was the topic for our discussion. We talked about full moons. And with the questions that were asked in the round, if you will, because we were actually sitting outside. We were having an outside meeting, which was fun. We got to do that a few times this summer, and it was different experience having the outside. You've got the weather at play, the sun, hopefully, and there are other elements. You've got people outside walking their dogs and playing, etc., etc. It was a really cool little spot under the trees. There were actually rocks built up around and kind of even like divots on the ground where we were sitting. We actually got to have these conversations about what the full moon, or in this case, because August had two full moons. And because of that, I'm going to see if I can get this correctly. Two full moons in a month ended up being, is it a blue moon or a super moon? I think it was a super moon. So we got talking about what the full moon meant to us and when we became aware of it throughout our life. And Kate and I got to kind of chime in as far as, because when we think of the full moon, what are we always talking about? We're always talking about how it affects the bugs we have, the parasites in our system, and how it makes them more active. And with them being more active, obviously that leads to symptoms. And a couple of the ones that I had mentioned when I was speaking last night was people having difficulty sleeping and not jaw pain, but jaw teeth grinding. And it was really interesting to see the group kind of lean in and really caught attention, because it's not something that's talked about a lot. So just to have and really being aware of what everyone was doing, how they were listening, how they were tuning in to what was being said was really cool to be in person for. And with all of that kind of leading up to what's coming, I think for some people I'm here in Canada, some people are already back at school, and if you're living further north, and then the rest of the kids next week is when school really kicks off. And we're coming into a time where you've got parasite week, basically with full moon. You could be having more symptoms. Your symptoms could be worse at that. And then you're coming into this routine change, this getting back to school, and maybe work is changing as well. And that's adding in some stress and different elements. And maybe there's a lot of thoughts happening as far as what to expect for the next week, and what's that going to be like with maybe returning to see old friends, like new kids coming to school. There's going to be a lot of changes happening, and probably a lot of kids are going to be experiencing. Some will be maybe very excited about going back to school, and I know others are probably not as excited to go back, and maybe there's some anxiety and stress around that. So I just wanted to kind of go through a few things that might help ease that a little bit, because there's just so much going on with that right now for kids. So especially with the parasite element here in the full moon, that triggers all the symptoms. And if you're feeding them with sugar, which they absolutely love, this is what they crave. If you find you've been craving more sugar this past week, it's probably because the parasites are, because this is what they want. And if you're consuming more sugar, this is going to be affecting your body as well. Going into a new routine, it's just an added layer of stress on the body. So something simple that you can do is just be eating whole foods. I know there's like a boatload of different diets out there and different ways that people say you should eat, or try this, try that. But ultimately, if you can cut out processed foods, cut out all the junk, anything that's packaged, look for things that have one ingredient, whole foods, and go with that. Shop the circumference of your grocery store as much as you can. Whole meats, fruits, veggies, things like this. And when you're doing that, make sure you have healthy fats in there, your animal fats, tallow, butter, olive oil, avocado oil, things like this. Get away from the canola oils, the seed oils, because these are inflammatory oils and they're not having a nice effect on your system. This may not be a tip for the kids, but maybe for teachers going back or anyone else who's going back to work because their routine is changing as well. Limit your caffeine, especially if it's getting into the afternoon and evening, because that could impact your sleep, which is so important, which is something I'll touch on a bit later. And avoid drinking your calories because it's something so easy to do. They've got all these fancy drinks all over the place, which are also full of sugar, and that's impacting our health, our mental health. And by cutting that back and getting your protein in, getting your good fats, this can help keep your body satisfied and full longer and avoid having all these cravings, which is just insane, especially because of the parasites. So getting back into a routine as well, you want to be hydrated. I fall into this category yesterday. I noticed that I wasn't drinking enough water. And again, I got a headache. And just reflecting back on it, it's like, I know I didn't drink enough water today. I was focused on everything that I was doing and had to get done. And I just was not drinking enough. So I tried to make up for it later in the day, but it was too late by that point. I was already experiencing a headache. You could also be feeling irritable or sluggish. You could even have constipation if you're not getting enough water into your system. It's so important for all of our body functions. We are mostly water. Our brain is mostly water. And we need that water to help eliminate toxins. There's so many things that it does for our body. So those are a couple simple things you can do. Start eating whole foods and make sure you're drinking enough water. That can vary depending on your activity level, what the temperature is like outside. 2 to 3 liters ish, around there. Clean water is great as well. Distilled is usually what we recommend because it's the cleanest source. It gets rid of all the sediment, all the things that could be in the water. And I know you're probably thinking, or someone out there is saying, it's dead water. It's no good. It's dead water. It removes all the minerals. Yes, it does. You can put minerals back in, and probably better quality minerals at that. We use a professional brand, Cellcore, and they have CT minerals. You can also get there's liquid minerals out there you can purchase from your supplement stores as well. Have a look out for those. You want to make sure your electrolytes are good. It's maybe not so much here right now because it is quite cooler this morning, which was a bit of a shock to step out to. But if you're sweating a lot, if you're working out a lot, make sure you're getting your electrolytes back in. And on that note, movement and exercise. You're getting back to a different routine. Maybe you're not going to be moving around as much. Maybe you're sitting at a desk. Maybe you're sitting at a desk at work in the office. So be aware and think about getting up and doing a lap of the office. If you have an excuse to go check and see if there's any mail, get outside at lunch and do a lap of the parking lot, whatever it is, just to kind of get things moving. Because I know if you're not moving as much, sometimes that can affect you mentally, especially if you're getting into a new routine. There's so many things that you just could be impacting you. Let's see. I'm a little behind on the comments. Kate says, yes, sugar makes the immune system not work as well. Exactly. It suppresses the immune system. And stress is actually going to do the same thing when I get into that a bit later. And if you're stressed too, electrolytes, you burn minerals. That's right. So there's another important reason to be getting your minerals into your body and replacing that if you're drinking distilled or at any point, really. Make sure you get enough minerals into your system. And this is one of the common topics that we talk about with clients all the time. It may not be a comfortable one for some people, but bowel movements. Did you poop today? Have you pooped today? Do you poop every day? This is pardon me, struggling with this today. It's an important question. If you're not pooping every day, you are toxic. You are toxic if you're not pooping every day. This comes back to drinking the water. This comes back to movement even. And You can have so many symptoms coming from not being constipated. You could have skin issues. You could have weight gain, and anxiety, headaches. You could be feeling tired and sluggish if this is not a normal part of your routine. And perhaps that could be your new routine coming up. Maybe that will affect your bowel movement routine, if you will. Maybe because you're stressed going into the next week. Your new routine, you don't know where the washroom is, you don't know what your schedule is going to be like. So that perhaps that's affecting your bowel movement routine. These are just things you have to work through. Make sure you drink enough water, for sure. Pardon me. And so, yeah, things you want to think on is getting that movement and drinking water. And if you're still struggling with that, reach out to us for sure. This is something that affects everything in your body, your liver. There's so many reasons why you could be constipated as well, beyond just not drinking water. Maybe if you're having liver issues, your bile is sluggish. The parasites could be at play again. They're finishing up their party for the week, so you never know what they're affecting. And sleep is another one. Sleep is so important. If you are not sleeping, if you're not sleeping well, 7-8 hours a day, you are not resting, you are not healing. All of these things are very important. They all have their roles in this, and it's all kind of a package deal. But if one of these things are not working the way you need, like sleep, your body's not healing. And I can't stress that enough, really. You need to be able to get a good night's sleep. You need to be going through all the processes of the sleep cycles. And I know I've heard from people who they have difficulty getting to sleep because the thoughts are just racing, or maybe they get to sleep okay and then they're waking up in the middle of the night. And there's reasons for both of those. And if you're experiencing either, you could be having brain fog, difficulty concentrating. You could be having all of the sugar cravings because of that. And again, it's more of the same symptoms: irritable, anxiety, depression. All these things can start to add on. And one way you want to look at that is how to set up your sleep. What kind of environment do you want to go into when you're sleeping? You want it somewhere where it's quiet, it's dark. Dark is pretty good one, because that's how one of our sleep cycles works. As soon as the sun starts to rise, that's kind of like a trigger for our body it's time to get up. And if it's not dark, you're not getting the proper indications for your body what it needs to do. And avoiding screens at night, I know maybe that's a challenge to do, because the blue lights from all of the screens I have in front of me right now, that impacts your body as well, impacts your circadian rhythm. And even if you're watching the news, this could kind of play in, because there's a lot of negative. I don't watch the news really anymore, so I'm kind of disconnected from that. But when I did, it was nothing but negative things. So that's something you could perhaps just stop watching the news. Maybe if you're watching some on the edge of your seat TV show or whatever it is, these are things that are not setting you up for sleep. Maybe you've got a late night sport event or something, and these are the things that can play in. So how are the ways that you can kind of wind down? And stress, again, as I've kind of touched on here and there, is a big component. And going into a new routine and new teachers, basically a new routine, new teachers, new friends, all these things are going to play into how you're feeling. Stress, high cortisol, it's going to imbalance things in your system. It's going to imbalance hormones. Maybe that's going to affect your adrenals because you're stressed out. Maybe you might be sweating more because of that, because if your cortisol's up, that's going to be impacting things. You're not going to be, if you're basically running from the bear, the last thing your body's thinking about is digestion or anything production related, anything to do with stress, having children, or yeah, those are kind of the main two. If you're if you're worried about your life, those things don't matter. You're focusing on getting all the blood you need to your body so you can run away from the bear, rather than digestion and anything else your body needs to do is secondary. It's not important right now. So if you're having all the stress by going into this new routine, even though there's really is no bear, but you're thinking about all the things, your body's going to react the same way. So you could be experiencing things like weight gain, cravings, anxiety. Again, these are all kind of repeated symptoms: constipation, diarrhea, headaches, and there could be more things. So what can you focus on? You're building a new routine now, so you may want to work on getting to sleep at a certain time, having a regular schedule. Maybe there's a way that you can kind of relax and calm down, and maybe it's just a gentle walk around the gentle walk. Maybe it's just a relaxing walk around the neighborhood, deep breathing. You could try meditation or hypnosis, maybe just playing an instrument, something just to kind of reduce things. Get out into nature. That's an amazing one. Just connecting with the earth, even getting your feet on the ground, on the grass. Just, you could do that deep breathing and having your feet on the ground at the same time, and just kind of works both things in there. So just focus on something you enjoy doing beyond working on getting to sleep. If you're wanting to reduce your stress, just what is it you enjoy doing? What brings you happiness? What kind of puts you into the zone of just kind of being, I guess, being present? Stuff is going to be different at this time anyway. Why not pick a change you want to make a habit? Do you have any specific ones you were thinking of? Yeah, so look for things that you enjoy. Find joy in them. Maybe it's just connecting with a friend, going out for coffee, or whatever it is. Just being present and connecting with yourself and the earth, stuff like that. And if you're finding that you're still struggling with any of the symptoms that I mentioned, because there was a lot of them, from brain fog, constipation, diarrhea, so many things are going on right now. If you're still struggling, there are solutions for you. There are solutions, and it could be as easy as finding what is the right supplement your body needs to help deal with the cause, and then support it. This is something that we do with quantum nutrition testing. We find out where things are going wrong in your body, what organs are not working, and then we find out why. This is something we always want to ask. Why is something not working right? Why is this happening? Why is that happening? And then supporting the body. It's so amazing to have this technology. And if you're curious to find out more, you can book a discovery call with us. It's free, it's quick, it's easy, and we can talk more to see if we're a good fit to work together, and if how we can help you, basically. Kate's favorite is getting outside more. Yeah, that's a good one while the weather's still good. I'm not a big fan of the snow, but people often say it's still nice out there. But maybe my reasons are just for different reasons. Anyway, shouldn't have mentioned the S word so early in the game just yet. But if you're struggling with anything, please reach out to us. Please ask us questions, send us a message, and book that discovery call. Because if you're sitting there having questions about if you can be helped, you can. There are answers. And as one of my reels said this past week, we often find answers that other practitioners miss. And that's because we're tapping into your body. We're tapping into what's happening with your body, what's going on, what's the priority. And we're asking your body what it needs. We're not going by a set of procedures that you fall into and the yes, no kind of thing. We're asking what your body needs, what your body wants to get better and get back into balance. So if you're curious to find out more about that, book that discovery call. The link's in my bio on Instagram. The link is in I think the About section on Facebook. And it is a long weekend, so I hope everyone has an amazing weekend. And all the best for everyone going back to school, going into new routines. And just think of these suggestions for being healthier and getting through this transition time pretty smoothly. So have a great weekend and have a great week back to your routines. Live well naturally, everyone.